Number 1 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. Unsubscribe from mailing lists. In today's internet age, marketing lists are one of the most popular marketing tactics companies use to make sales. Now, not all mailing lists are bad. I personally subscribe to many mailing lists to stay up to date on topics I'm interested in and to gain valuable information. The issue is when we subscribe to them mindlessly without intention and allow them to drive our shopping behavior, not the other way around. You've seen the clickbaity email titles. Happening now, shop the spring event in store and online. 20% off. Claim your exclusive offer now. Learn a new language with only 5 minutes per day. All these catch email titles solicit emotions, and before we know it, we start thinking we need them because they're constantly in front of us. But the truth is that most often we don't. There might be rare times when the right offer might coincide with our specific need, but a lot of times the desire to buy came from them, not from us. So don't hesitate to unsubscribe. Remember, you can always resubscribe if you want to receive emails from them, but you control that decision, not them. Number 2 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. In the spirit of unsubscribing, delete shopping and discount apps from your phone. Similar to catchy email titles, many discount apps can make you feel like you're getting a good deal. However, again, the truth is that most often, they're pushing products and making you feel like you need them when you actually don't. Additionally, if you're like me, you can find yourself wasting so much time trying to find deals. Yes, I know, it's addicting. It feels good to find a 20-cent discount here and a $2 savings there. However, how much of your brain bandwidth was spent trying to chase down that discount? My thought is that our precious focus should be spent on higher value activities, growing our mind, our relationships, and thus our income. Number 3 strategy to avoid buying things you don't need. Avoid garage sales and estate sales. You know you had that pull when you're driving down the road and you see a sign for a garage sale or an estate sale. I wonder if I can find something useful. I mean, for a couple dollars it can't hurt, right? Who doesn't love a good deal? However, the issue with mindlessly going to a garage sale or an estate sale is that we're throwing ourselves right in the center of Temptation City. It's really hard to walk away from a garage sale empty-handed unless you have some ridiculously strong mental restraint. A few years ago, my neighbor had an estate sale, and just out of curiosity, my wife and I decided to go. I told myself I just want to see what they owned. An hour later, I walked out with a stack of books I have yet to read, and that was 5 years ago. And sadly, to this day, they're still taking up valuable bookshelf space from books that I actually want to read. Do yourself a favor and avoid garage sales and estate sales if you don't want to fill your house with a bunch of junk you don't need. Number 4 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. In the theme of deleting and avoiding, just avoid places of temptation. We all have a weak spot. For me, it is a good deal on a hardcover book. I have a really hard time walking by a used bookstore without sticking my head inside. Whenever we're in a new city, if I see a used bookstore, I feel like I have to check it out. And my wife knows this too well because she always gives me that look. Again? And once inside the bookstore, if I see a hardcover book being sold for $2, I have a really hard time walking away. I wasn't interested in that book before, but for $2, for some reason, I can see myself being interested. Now, if it's really a book that I've been looking for and it's being sold for a good price, great. Stars have aligned. However, if I'm honest, it's not the book that I'm excited about, only the price. And because it doesn't excite me, it sits on my bookshelf for many years collecting dust and taking up valuable space. Bottom line, know your Achilles heels and avoid places of temptation. The number 5 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. Constantly ask yourself, is this a need or a want? Sometimes the best way to stop buying things you don't need is to simply ask yourself the question, do I need this or do I want this? And be honest, do I need this new pair of pants or is this a want? How many pairs of pants do I have in my drawer that I thought I needed but haven't even worn once? Or the new iPhone. Do I really need to upgrade my phone? Is it not usable? Does it not do its job? Or is it more of a want because I saw a cool ad about the latest release? And the answer could be that you really need that new pair of pants or need to upgrade your phone. But you don't know until you take the time to ask that simple question. And now you're happier with your purchase rather than regretting it because you decided to ask yourself this question. In the theme of want versus need, do you know what you shouldn't skimp on, especially in today's digital age? Good online protection. A way to keep your sensitive personal information safe online. Which is why I'm excited to talk to you about today's video sponsor, Aura. Do a quick exercise with me. Do a Google search for your name or your email address and see what comes up. And don't be surprised by what you find. The chances are there's a lot more of your personal information online than you feel comfortable with. When I first did this, I was shocked by what I found. My full name, email address, home address, previous employer, and even my relatives. It was all out there for anyone to see. That's why I've been using Aura. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. For me, it's already had 20 successful data broker removals with 5 more in progress. Something I wouldn't even know how to do even if someone told me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it protects me from hackers. Hackers who could use this information to access my social media account, bank accounts, or other sensitive information. But that is not all Aura does. Aura also does so much more to protect me and my family from online threats that I can't see. It actually monitors the dark web to check personal information leaks. It provides antivirus, VPN, password management, parental control, identity theft insurance, and more. And all at one affordable price. I value my privacy and I value yours. So go to my special link to start your free 2-week trial today. That's right, it doesn't cost anything to test out this tool. I'll also have a link in the description below. In today's digital age, it's crucial that we protect our personal information, so let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online. Alright, with that said, let's get back to the video. Number 6 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. Still not sure if this is a need or a want? Give it some time. Wait. When you shop online, there are these features where you can save for later or add to list. So instead of hitting the buy button right away, save it for later. Give some buffer between the time you feel like you need an item to actually making the purchase. Sleep on it. Give it a few days. You might come back and confirm that yes, I need that battery pack because my alarm clock doesn't work without it. Or you can come back and say, actually, I don't need that. I can make do with what I have. Number 7 strategy is stop buying things you don't need. Delete your credit card information from your phone and shopping websites. Create a barrier between your desire to buy something and actually buying it. Have you ever had a time when you're about to make a purchase from a website that you frequently use and it prompts you for your credit card information because information got deleted or the existing one expired? You probably threw your hand up in frustration, right? One more thing to do. But it also probably gave you the time to ask yourself the question, is this a need or a want? Can I do without it? Should I wait a bit? Or you might just pass on the item because the hassle of finding your credit card and punching in all the numbers to make the transaction is just too much work. To take this practice to the extreme, I heard one person talk about how they would actually freeze their credit card in a large ice cube to create this barrier between desire and purchase. Apparently the time it takes for the ice to melt helped this person's better self to prevail. Personally, I think that's taking it a bit too far, but hey, if it works, why not, right? Number 8 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. Do not shop when you're tired. When we're tired, we don't have good judgment and we don't make good decisions. We not only buy things we don't need, but we buy more of them. For me, this is one of the reasons why I try to avoid grocery shopping when I'm tired or hungry. I find myself buying way more food than I need and more unhealthy junk food at that. Oh look, a box of oatmeal cookies. Yes, I do need the 24 pack. Why the extra large Pringles are the same price as the regular pack? No brainer. I must buy the extra large. What do you mean I get the second box of Pop-Tarts for free? I mean, how can I grab just one when you put it that way? We've all done this, so no need to feel guilty here. This channel is a safe place. No judgment here. Well, maybe just a little bit. Regardless, the takeaway is this. If you're tired, don't shop. Avoid places where you might be tempted to spend money. Because if you're like me, you'll end up buying a whole bunch of things you don't need and will end up regretting it. Number 9 strategy is stop buying things you don't need. In the line of bad times to go shopping, do not shop when stressed. Many of us resort to shopping as a relief activity when stressed. After a hard day of work, we think buying things will help me feel better. It will help me reduce my stress level. But for many of us who've experienced this firsthand, we know how false this is. In the end, instead of reducing our stress level, it elevates it, because now we're left with a bunch of things we don't need, plus a huge credit card bill we're burdened with. So if shopping is not a good stress relief activity, what is? Which leads to a next strategy. Number 10 strategy to stop buying things we don't need. Find a substitute activity for shopping. Do not default to buying things to alleviate stress from our work or our relationships. Find a healthier, more financially responsible outlet. You can resort to doing house chores like laundry or cooking, or leisure activities like going for a walk or reading a book, or nerdy activities like reviewing your spending and updating your budget. Or my favorite substitute activity, which leads to the next strategy. Number 11 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. Declutter. Go through your drawers and pull out things you haven't worn in a year for the donation pile. Throw out that extra junk food in your cabinet. Remove from your bookshelf those books you know you will never read. For me, when I declutter, I realize how much things I already own and thus lose any appetite to add any more. Number 12 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. In the line of decluttering, find a home for everything you own, everything that you intend to keep. Books belong on the bookshelves, not the floor. Plates belong inside the kitchen cabinet, not on the dining table. That jacket belongs inside your closet, not your sofa. And when you find that you can't find a home for everything because you have too much stuff, that again will motivate you to not buy more things you don't need. Number 13 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. Just generally, aim to own less. Get rid of things you can't find a home for. Donate items that you haven't used in a year. Aim to own less things. And once you get used to the empty spaces and how great it feels, you'll take a pause every time you think about adding something to fill that space. A quick reminder before we move on to the next strategy, make sure to download your free one-page PDF companion guide that goes along with this video. Everything that I'm covering here in a simple to digest one-page format. So go to the link I'll have in the description below to grab your free copy. Number 14 strategy to stop buying things that you don't need. Actually research, not window shop. We often justify shopping as researching. Oh, I'm just researching to see if there's a better knife set, or if the specs on the new computer are that much better than what I currently own, or if that new hat also comes out in navy blue. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing real research, but let's be careful not to blur the line between researching versus window shopping to distract ourselves from the real world. Because as I stated earlier, to expose ourselves to temptation when we're tired and stressed can be quite dangerous. We end up buying a bunch of things that we don't need. Number 15 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. Shop from a list. The fact is that most people do not shop with a list. Many just wander aimlessly without a game plan. Browse online, browse in store, curious to see what new items are in today or on sale. And before you know it, you're punching in your credit card information or waiting at the checkout line with a bunch of things you had no intention of buying in the first place. Thus, combat this mindless activity by always shopping with a list. Shop with intention. What I like to do is have a running list on my phone where I add items every time I think of something. Even if it's something I can buy quickly online, I add to the list first before going online. The act of writing it down not only controls what I buy, but it also helps me to pause to think if I really need the item at all. Remember, we have to constantly ask ourselves, is this a need or a want? Our minds and will are weak, so combat it by always shopping with a list. Number 16 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. Curate your media exposure. According to the latest media data, US consumers spend on average up to 8 hours a day consuming digital media. That is a lot of digital media. And media, whether we like it or not, has a great influence on our thoughts, our behaviors, and our spending habits. Thus, it's very important that we intentionally curate our content diet with healthy content versus content that can encourage us to buy things we do not need. If we allow ourselves to spend all day watching social media reels about new shoes, videos about hottest vacation spots and restaurants, what do you think our minds will think about the rest of the day? New shoes, exotic vacations, and fancy restaurants. Now, I'm not saying that you should be a complete hermit because that also is not healthy. Just that as you're being intentional about your life, be intentional about what media you expose yourself to. Curate your content diet so you're exposed to media that brings out your best, not your worst. Number 17 strategy to stop buying things that you don't need. The theme of curating your media, curate your social circle. You might have heard of this old saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Similar to media, the people we spend the most time with have a tremendous impact on our minds, our daily behaviors, and our direction in life. In my previous life, when I was always surrounded by soldiers things were all I could think about. And later when I went to business school, all I could think about was things my business school classmates were interested in. A new marketing role, the acquisition of this company, who the new CEO was going to be for this Fortune 500 company. And in the same way, if we're constantly surrounded by people who don't have the best spending behavior, how do you think we'll spend our money? Not well. It's really hard to resist the crowd, especially if there are people we consider friends. It is hard, but if we want to change our spending habits and we notice that our social circle isn't supporting that goal, it may be time to change our social circle, curating it so it better aligns with who we want to be in the future. Number 18 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. Shop alone. More specifically, don't shop with kids. I know this too well based on personal experience. Every time I go shopping with my kids, I end up buying more things than I normally would. If they're acting out, I resort to bribing them to keep them behaving. Extra toys or snacks at the checkout line. Yes, judge me all you want, but if you're a parent, you know you've done the same. And even if they're not acting out, kids can be quite convincing. I need a new soccer ball because the one I have doesn't kick as well. All the girls in the class are wearing this new headband, and I'm the only one that doesn't have one. And before you know it, I'm walking out with a new soccer ball and 2 new headbands. And don't forget the box of Oreos just in case. Number 19 strategy to stop buying things that you don't need. Calculate. How many hours does this item cost? When tempted to buy something, think about how many hours of work the item cost you. Put into perspective how much of your life you're trading for that item. That sunglass that you really want, it might cost you 5 hours of work to buy it. Now, is 5 hours of your sweat, blood, and tears worth that new sunglass? It could be or it could be not, but do the math and ask yourself that question. Number 20 strategy to stop buying things you don't need. Track your spending. We're really bad at mental math. Just ask yourself this question. How much do you think you spent eating out this month? Maybe 200 or 300, but definitely not more than 400. There is no way I ate out that much, right? Well, what most often happens is when we do the actual math, we come to find that we spent $700 eating out this month, double what we initially estimated. We can't help ourselves. We underestimate what we spend and overestimate how much money we make. It's human nature. So what we really need are objective data to help see reality and thus our behavior. Keeping track does wonders for quelling the urge to splurge. You can do this manually, or if you don't mind learning some new tools, there are tons of online apps that make this process very easy. They will all aggregate your spending in one place, making tracking your spending super easy. Through writing down every cent that comes into and goes out of your life, you're awakening this latent superpower and inviting it to increasingly direct your life. Number 21 strategy to stop buying things that you don't need. When in doubt, return. Most retailers have very generous return policies. Some places like Nordstrom is known for their exceptional return policy. There are no time limits on return, and sometimes you don't even need a receipt, although having one will help. So if you bought something and you regret it, no worries. Return it and get your money back. No harm done as long as you learn something from the experience. Thank you guys for watching. In the spirit of spending money, if you want to learn how to spend for maximum life fulfillment, please check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.